Have you ever experienced a moment that felt completely impossible to explain? A moment so strange, so unexpected, that every logical answer suddenly seemed too small? Tonight's story begins with one of those moments. It begins with a phone call. A phone call that arrived at exactly 11:11 p.m. The kind of call most people would ignore. The kind of call that would change everything. The woman on the other end was crying. Not ordinary crying. Not the kind caused by a bad day. This was the sound of someone whose entire reality had just been turned upside down. She could barely speak. Her hands were shaking. Her voice trembled as she whispered a sentence that would send chills through everyone who heard it. I wasn't supposed to find out this way. For several seconds, there was silence. Then she revealed the reason. An unexpected pregnancy. But this wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was what happened immediately afterward. Because the moment she learned the truth, she discovered something hidden. Something connected to a secret from years ago. A secret connected directly to someone she never expected. And if you stay until the end of this story, you'll understand why this unexpected pregnancy became linked to a mystery nobody saw coming. Because every detail matters. Every clue matters. And the final revelation changes everything. The story begins 3 years earlier. Back then, life looked completely normal. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing seemed mysterious. The woman, let's call her Emily, lived a quiet life. She worked hard. She kept to herself. She followed routines. Wake up. Work. Come home. Sleep. Repeat. Nothing extraordinary. Nothing dramatic. Yet sometimes the biggest secrets grow inside the most ordinary days. Emily often described a strange feeling she couldn't explain. A feeling that she was being guided toward something. Not by a person. Not by luck. But by a sequence of events that seemed carefully arranged. At first, she ignored it. Most people would. But then the coincidences started becoming impossible to dismiss. She would think about someone she hadn't seen in years. Minutes later, that person's name would appear. She would dream about a location. Days later, she would unexpectedly find herself there. Again and again. The pattern continued. Until one evening. An evening she would never forget. It was raining. The streets were nearly empty. The sky looked darker than usual. Emily stopped at a small bookstore she had never visited before. She wasn't looking for anything specific. She just felt pulled inside. Almost as if something was waiting for her. Inside the store, she noticed an elderly woman sitting alone near the back. Their eyes met. And immediately, the woman smiled. Not the smile of a stranger. The smile of someone who already knew something. Something important. Emily felt uncomfortable. Yet strangely curious. As she walked past, the woman spoke. You've been searching for answers. Emily froze. The sentence sounded impossible. Because it was true. The woman continued. One day, something unexpected will arrive in your life. Emily laughed nervously. What do you mean? The elderly woman looked toward the window. Then she said words Emily would remember forever. "When it arrives, it will reveal a connection you never knew existed." Emily waited. But the woman said nothing more. No explanation. No details. Just silence. Eventually, Emily left. And for years, she forgot about the encounter. Or at least she thought she had. Until everything changed. Fast forward to the present. 3 years later. A normal morning. An ordinary appointment. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Until the doctor entered the room. The expression on his face was impossible to read. Emily expected routine results. Instead, she received unexpected news. News that left her speechless. For several moments, she couldn't process what she was hearing. Her mind felt frozen. The room felt smaller. Time seemed slower. The pregnancy was completely unexpected. Completely unplanned. Completely shocking. Questions flooded her mind. How? Why now? What happens next? But as overwhelming as the news felt, an even stranger event occurred hours later. While sorting through old boxes in her apartment, Emily found a notebook she hadn't opened in years. The notebook belonged to her grandmother. Most pages contained ordinary memories. Family stories. Recipes. Old photographs. Nothing unusual. Until she reached the final pages. The handwriting suddenly changed. The words became urgent. Almost desperate. And then she saw a sentence. A sentence that made her heart stop. If this message is ever discovered after an unexpected pregnancy, the truth must be revealed. Emily stared at the page. Again. And again. And again. Her hands trembled. Because those exact words were written years before. Long before anyone could know what would happen. But that wasn't all. Beneath the sentence was a name. A name connected to a person her family rarely discussed. A person surrounded by unanswered questions. A person whose disappearance had become a family mystery. The deeper Emily investigated, the stranger everything became. Documents appeared. Photographs surfaced. Hidden letters emerged. Each clue pointed toward one conclusion. The pregnancy wasn't creating the mystery. It was uncovering it. Like a key opening a locked door. A door hidden for decades. And behind that door waited a truth nobody was prepared to face. Night after night, Emily followed the clues. Every answer led to another question. Every discovery revealed another secret. Until eventually she reached a location mentioned repeatedly throughout the documents. An old property outside town. Abandoned. Forgotten. Silent. The kind of place most people would avoid. Especially after dark. Yet Emily couldn't ignore it. Something was pulling her there. Something important. When she finally arrived, she noticed something unusual. The property looked abandoned. But signs suggested someone had visited recently. Fresh footprints. A recently moved object. A broken lock. Someone else knew about the secret. Someone else had been searching. The realization sent a chill down her spine. Because suddenly this wasn't just about family history. It wasn't just about old documents. It wasn't just about the unexpected pregnancy. Someone wanted the truth hidden. And someone else wanted it found. The question was simple. Which side would reach it first? Emily stepped inside. Dust filled the air. Wood creaked beneath her feet. Every sound echoed. Every shadow felt alive. Then she found a hidden compartment. Inside was a sealed envelope. Yellowed with age. Untouched for decades. On the front were 7 words. Open only when the time arrives. Emily knew instantly. This was it. This was the moment everything had been leading toward. The moment connected to every clue. Every coincidence. Every unanswered question. Slowly, she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. And within seconds, her entire understanding of the past changed forever. Because the letter revealed something astonishing. Something impossible. Something nobody in the family had ever suspected. The secret wasn't about money. It wasn't about inheritance. It wasn't about property. It was about identity. A hidden connection. A missing piece. A truth buried for generations. And suddenly the unexpected pregnancy became the event that exposed it all. Not because it caused the secret, but because it arrived at exactly the moment the secret could no longer stay hidden. Everything connected. Every clue aligned. Every mystery made sense. The elderly woman's warning. The notebook. The letters. The forgotten property. The family silence. All of it pointed to one conclusion. Some truths remain hidden for years. Some remain hidden for decades. But eventually, the right moment arrives. And when it does, the truth emerges whether people are ready or not. Emily finally understood. Life had not randomly placed these events in front of her. Each revelation arrived exactly when it needed to. And the unexpected pregnancy became the turning point that uncovered a story far bigger than anyone imagined. A story about family. A story about hidden history. A story about secrets waiting in the shadows. And a story proving that sometimes the most shocking discoveries aren't the events themselves. They're the truths those events reveal. Because the greatest mystery was never the unexpected pregnancy. The greatest mystery was the secret it uncovered. And once that secret came to light, nothing would ever be the same again. Emily sat motionless. The letter remained in her hands. Her eyes scanned the words again and again, hoping she had misunderstood. But every time she reread the message, the meaning became even clearer. The secret was real. And it was far bigger than she had imagined. For years, her family had hidden something. Not because they wanted to deceive her, but because they were terrified of what would happen if the truth ever surfaced. The letter described events dating back more than 30 years. Names. Places. Conversations. Decisions. Everything was documented. And one particular sentence stood out. A sentence that made Emily's stomach drop. If this letter is being read, the final piece of the puzzle has appeared. The final piece. What did that mean? Emily kept reading. The writer explained that a chain of events had been predicted long ago. Not through magic. Not through prophecy. But through secrets carefully passed down from one generation to another. Certain people knew the truth. Certain people were instructed to remain silent. And the reason for that silence was hidden in the next paragraph. Emily's heartbeat accelerated. The room suddenly felt colder. Then she saw it. A photograph. Folded inside the letter. Old. Faded. Almost destroyed by time. The moment she unfolded it, her breath caught in her throat. Because one of the people in the photograph looked exactly like her. Not similar. Not close. Exactly. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Emily stared at the image. The same eyes. The same smile. Even the same small scar above the eyebrow. Yet the photo had been taken decades before she was born. How was that possible? Who was this person? And why had nobody ever mentioned them? Questions exploded inside her mind. But before she could think further, another discovery stopped her cold. Written on the back of the photograph was a date. A date that matched something else. Something she had seen earlier that day. Her doctor's appointment. The numbers were identical. The exact same date. The coincidence felt impossible. For several minutes she simply sat there. Unable to move. Unable to think. Unable to explain what she was seeing. Then her phone rang. The sudden sound nearly made her jump. An unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something told her to answer. The voice on the other end sounded nervous. Very nervous. Emily? Yes. There was a pause. Then the stranger spoke. I think you found the letter. Emily's blood ran cold. Every muscle in her body tightened. How could this person know? Who were they? The caller seemed to sense her fear. I don't have much time, the voice whispered. You need to leave that property immediately. Emily stood up. What are you talking about? Another pause. Then the answer came. Because you're not the only person searching for the truth. The line went dead. Silence. Complete silence. Emily stared at her phone. The words echoed in her mind. You're not the only person searching. Suddenly every shadow inside the building felt different. Every sound felt threatening. Had someone been watching? Had someone followed her? The possibility seemed ridiculous. Yet deep down, she knew something wasn't right. She gathered the documents quickly. The photograph. The letter. The notebook pages. Everything. Then she rushed toward the exit. As she stepped outside, she noticed something strange. A vehicle parked across the road. Dark windows. Engine running. Motionless. Waiting. The moment Emily looked at it, the vehicle slowly pulled away. No sudden movements. No dramatic chase. Just a quiet departure. But the message was clear. Someone knew. Someone was paying attention. And someone didn't want her digging any deeper. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the photograph. The face. The resemblance. The unanswered questions. At 2:17 a.m., she finally got out of bed. She spread every document across the table. Then she began connecting clues. Dates. Names. Addresses. Locations. Patterns started emerging. And once she noticed them, she couldn't unsee them. Certain names appeared repeatedly. Certain locations connected together. Certain events seemed carefully hidden. Then she found something astonishing. One name appeared in nearly every document. A woman named Eleanor. Nobody in the family ever talked about Eleanor. In fact, Emily couldn't remember hearing the name even once. Yet according to the documents, Eleanor was at the center of everything. Every secret. Every decision. Every mystery. And somehow, the unexpected pregnancy was connected to her. Emily spent hours researching. Old records. Archived newspapers. Public databases. Anything she could find. Then finally she uncovered a breakthrough. An article. Small. Buried deep inside an old archive. Most people would have missed it. But Emily didn't. The article described a disappearance. A woman vanished without explanation. No evidence. No witnesses. No answers. The woman's name? Eleanor. Emily felt chills race down her arms. The article was dated 31 years earlier. 31 years. An entire lifetime. And yet nobody had solved the mystery. Until now. Or at least that's what Emily believed. The next morning brought another surprise. A package arrived. No return address. No sender information. Nothing. Just a plain box. Emily hesitated. Then she opened it. Inside was a single object. A key. Old. Heavy. Covered in scratches. Attached to the key was a handwritten note. 7 words. The truth is hidden beneath everything. Emily read the sentence 3 times. Then a realization struck her. The abandoned property. The hidden compartment. The letter. Maybe there was more. Maybe she hadn't found everything. Maybe she had only uncovered the beginning. By afternoon, she was driving back. The sky looked gray. The air felt heavy. Almost as if a storm was approaching. When she arrived, the property seemed unchanged. Silent. Empty. Still. Yet Emily couldn't shake the feeling that someone was nearby. Watching. Waiting. She entered carefully. Following clues from the documents. Examining every room. Every floorboard. Every wall. Then she noticed something unusual. One section of the floor looked newer than the rest. Not obvious. Not enough for most people to notice. But different. Just different enough. Emily knelt down. Her heart pounded. Using the old key as leverage, she managed to lift the wooden panel. And underneath, she found another box. Smaller. Older. Far more important. Inside were dozens of letters. Hundreds of pages. And one journal. A journal written entirely by Eleanor herself. Emily opened the first page. The handwriting was elegant. Precise. Careful. The opening sentence sent a chill through her entire body. If you are reading this, then the child has finally returned. Emily froze. The child has finally returned. What child? Who was Eleanor talking about? The answer appeared several pages later. And when Emily read it, she nearly dropped the journal. Because according to Eleanor, the family story everyone believed was a lie. A carefully constructed lie. A lie designed to protect someone. Someone connected directly to Emily. Someone connected directly to the shocking pregnancy. Someone whose identity had been hidden for decades. The deeper she read, the more unbelievable the story became. Names changed. Histories changed. Relationships changed. Every assumption collapsed. Every certainty disappeared. The truth was emerging piece by piece. And with every page, Emily moved closer to a revelation that would completely redefine her understanding of herself. But she still didn't know the most important detail. The one secret hidden beneath all the others. The secret everyone had protected. The secret someone was still trying to keep buried. And as Emily turned the next page of Eleanor's journal, she realized she was about to discover exactly what that secret was. What she read next would force her to question everything she thought she knew. And once she learned it, there would be no going back. Emily's hands trembled as she turned the page. The old journal seemed heavier now. Almost as if the weight of every hidden secret inside it had suddenly become real. Outside, thunder rolled across the dark sky. Rain began tapping softly against the windows of the abandoned property. The atmosphere felt unreal. Like the entire world was holding its breath. Waiting. Watching. Expecting something. Emily looked down at the next page. The words were written differently. The handwriting was shakier. More urgent. More emotional. Almost as if Eleanor had been terrified while writing it. The first sentence immediately caught Emily's attention. If anyone discovers this journal, it means the secret could no longer stay hidden. Emily swallowed hard. She continued reading. Eleanor described a decision made decades earlier. A decision involving multiple families. Multiple lives. And consequences nobody could have predicted. At first, the details seemed confusing. Names appeared. Dates appeared. Events appeared. Yet none of it made complete sense. Not yet. But then she reached a page marked with a red symbol. A symbol that appeared nowhere else in the journal. Underneath it was a warning. Everything changes after this page. Emily felt her heartbeat accelerate. Slowly, she turned the page. And then, everything finally clicked. Every clue. Every letter. Every photograph. Every coincidence. Every mystery. Suddenly, they all connected. Because Eleanor revealed the truth. The person in the photograph wasn't just someone who looked like Emily. The resemblance wasn't accidental. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't chance. The person was directly connected to her family in a way nobody had ever revealed. A connection hidden for more than 3 decades. A connection so explosive that several people had spent years protecting it. Emily could hardly breathe. The realization was overwhelming. Her entire understanding of her family's history shattered in seconds. Nothing was what it seemed. Nothing. And then she saw another folded document hidden between the pages. A sealed note. Addressed directly to her. Not to a future reader. Not to a stranger. To her. Emily. Written decades before she was born. For a moment, she simply stared at it. How was that possible? How could someone from the past know her name? How could someone anticipate this moment? The questions raced through her mind. Yet curiosity was stronger than fear. Carefully, she opened the note. Inside was a short message. Only a few sentences. But those sentences changed everything. Emily, if you are reading this, then the truth has reached you exactly when it was supposed to. The unexpected pregnancy was never the secret. It was the event that unlocked the secret. Emily felt tears forming in her eyes. She kept reading. The child you carry is connected to a story that began long before you existed. The answers you seek are hidden in your family's forgotten past. The words hit her like a wave. Suddenly, she understood why every clue had pointed toward the pregnancy. Not because the pregnancy itself was mysterious, but because it triggered a chain reaction. A chain reaction exposing truths buried for generations. Truths nobody expected to resurface. Truths someone desperately wanted to keep hidden. Then another sound interrupted her thoughts. A noise from upstairs. A loud thud. Emily froze. The property was supposed to be empty. Completely empty. Slowly, she stood. Silence followed. Then another sound. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Moving across the floor above her. Someone was inside. Someone else knew about the journal. Someone else knew about the secret. For several seconds, Emily couldn't move. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it. Every instinct told her to leave. Immediately. Yet another part of her refused. She was too close now. Too close to the truth. Too close to the final answer. Gathering the documents, she moved cautiously toward the staircase. Each step creaked. Each shadow seemed alive. The rain outside intensified. Thunder shook the building. Then she reached the upper floor. And stopped. A door at the end of the hallway stood partially open. Light spilled through the crack. Emily knew she hadn't left any lights on. Someone was there. The question was simple. Who? Slowly, she approached. Every step felt longer than the last. The closer she got, the stronger her anxiety became. Finally, she reached the door. She pushed it open. And froze. The room was empty. No person. No movement. Nothing. Just an old wooden table. And sitting on that table was another envelope. Fresh. Clean. Recently placed. Someone had been there moments earlier. Emily looked around. The room had only one entrance. No windows large enough for escape. No hiding places. Yet whoever left the envelope was gone. Vanished. As if they had never been there at all. Her hands shook as she picked it up. The message written on the front was chilling. "You're closer than anyone before you." Emily opened it immediately. Inside was a map. A detailed map showing a location several miles away. Alongside it was a single sentence. "The final truth is waiting." The final truth. After everything she had discovered, those words felt almost impossible. What truth could still remain hidden? What answer could be bigger than everything she had already uncovered? Only one way to find out. The next morning, Emily followed the map. The journey took nearly 2 hours. The roads became narrower. The landscape became emptier. Civilization slowly disappeared behind her. Eventually, she reached the destination. An isolated chapel standing alone on a hill. Weathered by time. Forgotten by most people. The place felt ancient. Quiet. Still. Like it had been waiting. Inside the chapel, Emily found another hidden compartment. Another collection of documents. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle. The missing answer. The truth that explained everything. For decades, multiple families had carried fragments of the same secret. Each generation protected part of the story. No single person knew everything. Until now. Until Emily. The unexpected pregnancy had unknowingly become the event that reunited all the missing pieces. The trigger. The catalyst. The moment history finally revealed itself. And as Emily read the final pages, she understood something profound. The greatest mysteries aren't always about what happens. They're about what gets uncovered afterward. The pregnancy had not created destiny. It had uncovered it. It had exposed hidden connections. Hidden histories. Hidden truths. And in doing so, it had transformed countless unanswered questions into a complete story. A story nobody thought would ever be finished. Standing inside the chapel, surrounded by decades of secrets, Emily finally felt something she hadn't felt since the journey began. Peace. Not because every mystery had disappeared, but because the truth no longer lived in darkness. It had finally been revealed. Every clue now made sense. Every coincidence had a purpose. Every revelation had led here. To this moment. To this understanding. And as sunlight streamed through the chapel windows, Emily realized something extraordinary. Sometimes life changes because of what arrives unexpectedly. But sometimes life changes because that unexpected event reveals what was hidden all along. And that was the real secret. The secret behind everything. The secret connected to the unexpected pregnancy. Not a mystery about the future. but a truth about the past. A truth powerful enough to remain hidden for decades. And powerful enough to change everything once it was finally discovered. The story was complete. The secrets were exposed. The truth had emerged. And nothing would ever